Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about lightning, but mostly about branching electrical discharge patterns and their connection with something called Lichtenberg figures. So let's get started. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about these Lichtenberg figures. So what's a Lichtenberg figure? Lichtenberg figures are branching electrical discharges that sometimes appear on the surface or in the interior of an insulating material. And what you have here is a block of clear acrylic, and here you can see the branching tree-like patterns that are created by the passage of high voltage electrical discharges. And let's learn a little bit about the history of these Lichtenberg figures. Looking at the history, Lichtenberg figures are named after the German physicist Georg Christoph Lichtenberg. And after discharging a high voltage point to the surface of an insulator, he recorded the resulting radial patterns. And it was this discovery that was the forerunner of the modern day science of plasma physics. Lichtenberg figures are now known to be examples of fractals. Okay, so we probably need a definition of fractals. So what are fractals? Fractals are usually associated with self-similarity across different scales. As with many plants, a thick branch branches into one or more smaller branches, which in turn split into one or more smaller branches, and so on. The structure is similar at each scale, from the twigs to the main tree trunk. So this is an example of a river system, at different degrees of magnification, so on different scales. So here you observe the branching pattern that's happening here, and they're just showing you if you zoom in on a particular area, the area itself goes on to branch off into other trees as well. And then they're just showing you if you zoom in on this part, that goes to branch off into other areas that themselves branch off. So it just keeps on repeating itself within the same relative proportion. So that's what a fractal is. It's just something that a pattern that keeps repeating on different scales. Okay, so let's take a look at some videos that show Lichtenberg figures being created using wood, and I believe plexiglass is another example I'm going to show. So let's take a look. Here is another example of the creation of Lichtenberg figures on wood. And the power source for this particular demonstration is a transformer from a microwave. And I believe this is 2000 volts of electricity being applied. And you can see these fractal patterns being formed. And he's just adjusting the clamps, and he's going to repeat the process. And yeah, just very interesting stuff. And we can find examples of this in nature as well. Next, they're going to create these Lichtenberg figures in some plexiglass, and it even captures the electricity for a short time. But you have a fossilized Lichtenberg figure here, so a souvenir. Next, we're going to take a look at Google Earth in search of some more Lichtenberg figures as they appear in nature. But I wanted to introduce you to a theory called electrical scarring, and this has been proposed by people like the Electric Universe model and also Thunderbolts project. But electrical scarring, it is a theory that some surface features are caused by electric discharges or cosmic mega lightning bolts. So electrical discharges and lightning bolts. These include various craters in valley or river systems. So, as opposed to just natural geological processes, they're introducing a theory that electrical scarring is the result, and which entails, these electric discharges and lightning bolts. They may be the cause of some of the things we see, like craters and valley or river systems. So I just wanted to introduce that theory to you, and now we're gonna go and look on Google Earth. We're gonna start our journey outside of the United States looking for these Lichtenberg figures, and then we're gonna work our way back to the United States for the last few examples. But let's start in Burma. And now let's go to Afghanistan. And let's try Algeria. This one's quite extensive. Now we're going to go to Saudi Arabia. Now let's go to the west coast of Canada in British Columbia, the northwest portion of British Columbia. And this one is, I mean, it is, look at the area that this encompasses. I mean, it branches off into the Northwest look at the Northwest Territories for that matter. My goodness. So yeah, these branching patterns that you see during electrical discharges, they seem to appear all over our planet. So let's take a look at Spain next. And according to the electric scarring theory, channels can be carved out in these patterns and they can become river systems. So this might be a good example of one here. Well, let's go to Australia. Nice one there. Just wanted to get some perspective on where we were. Okay. Just for reference. Now let's go to Malaysia. And again, another river system which may not have been created by natural geological processes, or not only electrical scarring from an event could have been the cause of that, potentially. Let's go to Seoul. Seoul, South Korea. And again, another interesting example. And the last one outside of the United States, and this is probably my favorite one outside of the United States, and it's in Egypt. And yeah, this is great. Look. So look at this. I mean, it's very extensive, but very clear. And you could see where the electrical scarring happened. Channels were dug out, filled with water, and then it dissipated, but it still kind of it didn't dig out the same channels, but it dissipated here, but you still have the scarring. I mean, look at this. Wow. Yikes, look at that. I mean, whoa. all these branching tree-like structures, fractal in nature, that you see during these Lichtenberg figures, these electrical discharges. I mean, looks like something just rolled right in there. We're roughly, okay, we're down the Nile a bit there around that area. I mean, yeah, wow, that one, I enjoyed looking at that one. So now let's go back to the United States, and there's going to be an interesting one to notice in the United States, but we'll start off in New Mexico. Again, just a whole vast area. And as you can see, there's another one in New Mexico I'm going to highlight. And that one is pretty impressive as well. Now let's go to Alaska. And this area seems to be a good example of them as well. And we're going to go to Arizona. Again, these extensive patterns here. And Colorado. I mean, look at this, and you probably noticed on the way towards this all of this. So I mean, gee, this area looks like something electrical scarring potentially. And now this last example I'm going to show you, it's kind of surprising, but when you look at it, maybe not so surprising. But the official explanation, now my question, so this is the Grand Canyon, and the official origin of the Grand Canyon by the mainstream is that it is the result of constant erosion by the Colorado River over millions of years. But this idea of electrical scarring that causes some of the surface features we see on the Earth, this is very similar to the patterns you see during electrical discharge events, and it can create these valleys in river systems. So did this occur over millions of years, or could it have possibly happened in a really short time frame during some major energetic event? So I find that very interesting, and I wanted to leave this one for last, but why would they lie to us? It seems like they like to mislead us about everything and introduce millions of years to our timeline. So when was this created? I couldn't tell you, but it's an interesting speculation anyway. So these Lichtenberg patterns or figures, they don't just appear in nature, they can actually be observed on people. And during lightning strikes, people have been struck by lightning. So what we're going to do is we're going to just look at a few pictures of people who have been struck by lightning and lived to tell the tale. Interestingly, when lightning strikes some people, they develop these Lichtenberg figures across their skin. And it's believed they're likely caused by the rupture of capillaries beneath the skin from the electrical discharge, and they're sometimes referred to as lightning flowers. And they do go away usually after a few hours, and sometimes it takes a couple of days. But these do go away, they're temporary. Well, we've introduced a couple of concepts today. One was Lichtenberg figures and how they're created or formed, and we've also introduced a theory called electrical scarring, which states that some of the surfaces that we see on Earth may indeed be caused by electric discharges or things like cosmic mega lightning bolts. And these include various craters in the valley or river systems that we see. And we even looked at the Grand Canyon, which may very well be a good example of this theory. So I just thought I would share this, And I will just wish you all a good day. And until next time, take care. Bye.